So Dean, is there any specific question you have for today's session?
I think I answered my own question, but I'm going to ask it real quick. The map. Um, Unfortunately, I had to go. I already know how to do that, sort of, from the other class.
Mhm.
However, I noticed that we post it with our discussion, and then a week later we repost it with all of the feedback.
Yes, so you use the feedback from your group mates to make any edits or anything to your map, and then you submit the final version.
Okay, and this is not about. This is about the learning topics. We pick the ones we want, put it in the map, and go from there.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I got it. Hopefully it won't be, I won't go down the wrong direction like the last time. So I think I got it.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank
All
you.
right. So for today's session, I thought I'd do two things. Very quick overview of this module, and then touch on a few um, MS Word editing tips that might be helpful for you as you work with APA style formatting. And this is as a result of a question that Blake had raised on email, and I told him I'll show him how to do it. So this particular module, we're going to be looking at how to make meaning, how our brain works to make meaning and connections and things like that. And so the first one, of course, first reading is about connecting to prior experience. And we've already read about this in the previous modules, talking about relevance to life and your life experiences and how that molds your learning experience itself. So prior life experience is a big factor in adult education. It can work both ways. It can enhance the learning process, or it can detract from the learning process itself. So you've got to be careful how you're going to work with that. Now, it's easier to learn a topic where you have some familiarity, right? So we try to kind of always trigger lived experiences of learners. So making those connections becomes easier. But in most cases in adult education, what we're trying to do is to teach a new skill, something that is new and different and not always what we're familiar with, right? You're pushing boundaries, you're trying to do something different. Think of workplace training and everything. They're teaching you something new, a new skill set. So it does mean that you need to step out of what you are familiar with and become exposed to unfamiliar topics, take those unfamiliar topics and still make sense of them and learn them. And that's where deep learning comes in. Now, when we're looking at this unfamiliar topic, we will automatically be drawing connections to something that we might already know. And that's a very personal process that happens. And so this drawing of connections and making meaning of new things, that's what concept maps are intended to do. They are, when you start drawing out a concept map, at times it can seem like a process that has no meaning, right? The intention behind a concept map is not to help you learn the concepts by itself. It's to help you take the concepts and make connections in ways that you might not have thought about. And it's when you start drawing, physically drawing the connections, that you realize that one concept can connect to so many other things in ways that you hadn't thought about. And that's the intention of a concept map. Now, this is one meaning making skill. There are many out there. But in this program, we focus on this as a skill so that you get familiar with it and you can then use it in different ways. You can use concept maps to represent your understanding of any concept and representing that. I've used concept maps to represent who I am in my resume itself. So concept maps can be used in a variety of ways. We're using a concept map to represent information from a text in this course, just to get you familiar with the concept of a concept map itself. Okay, hopefully that kind of explains why we're doing concept maps. And to elaborate on what Dean was asking earlier, you create the concept map and you submit it in the discussion board, again, to get feedback from your peers in the group. And so you can use that to reframe your concept map and submit a final version of it. So you're getting peer feedback on the work that you're doing. So that's a little overview of how this module is working. That said, I am now going to share my screen and talk through a few APA issues. Now, I want to say that I took a quick look through the learner autobiographies that you had all submitted. And I'm pleased to say that most of you have got the APA style predominantly correct, which is good. I've seen, yeah, I've had papers with serious APA issues, but I haven't seen that so far, and I'm quite pleased with that. Now, there are some smaller fine-tuning things that can make writing papers with APA style easier for you, and I wanted to highlight some of them here. Okay, so I'm using MS Word. Now in MS Word, notice, so I'm using a paper that I have as an example, and it's not the best example, which is good because we're going to correct it as we go along right now. Now, one of the things we know for our student version of APA 7th edition we've been talking about is you do not need a running head, but you do need the page number on the right-hand side. So remember to go to the header section itself. What you need to do is just double click in that area. When you double click in that area, this area becomes active and this is grayed out. Your main text is grayed out. Okay, so over here, I need to remove this. So I'm deleting this out. And I need to put a page number on the right-hand side. So I need it right aligned. What I'm going to do is I am going to, now the minute I'm in the header footer toolbar will open for me. I am going to put a page number. And it asks me for what alignment I want. This might look a little different on a PC versus a Mac, but you'll have the same features. So I'm going to right align it and I say okay, and it puts it over here. Now, one thing I did notice for some of your papers is this page number and the text you had over here were of different fonts. You want them to be the same font, okay? So if that's happening, all you need to do is select this page number, and then on the main home menu, I always use Times New Roman, so I just make it Times New Roman and 12, and it's set. So changing page number formatting is an easy thing. Now in this paper, I also have, okay, that's about it. So I'm good there. All right. Another thing that happens is with APA style, remember everything, all your lines have to be double spaced. So one thing we all tend to do is what we will do is we'll select it. We will go to line spacing and click on double spacing. Fine, it takes care of it. But there's a little nuance over here, okay? When you do line spacing between paragraphs, between this paragraph and this paragraph, MS Word sometimes tends to add extra spacing over there. So it won't be just double spaced, there'll be more spacing. In one of your papers, I noticed there was actually less spacing. So you want to keep it consistently double spaced all through. To do that, what you do is you don't do just this double, you click on line spacing options. And over here, you want to make sure that the before and the after are set to 0 point. And this is, of course, double spaced. And then you click OK. So I'll give you an example of if I had extra space, say before a paragraph or after a paragraph, right? If I say 6 points after a paragraph, notice there's been an extra spacing added over here, which we don't want. So let me take that out. And this is purely double spaced. So you want to make sure that your paper is double spaced without any of those before and after spacings included. Okay. The other thing is your paper has to be 1-inch margins all around, including references, right? Now references should be in bold, mine isn't, so I would then make that bold. Okay, now references themselves, remember, use a hanging indent where the top line is flush and the next line is indented, right? So I've seen people do this using the tab button, or some people will use the space bar to push it out 5 spaces in. That's not really the best way to do this, okay? The best way to do this, and I'll show you why, is you want to use the ruler marks to make this happen. And I'll show you how it works. So I select the text that I want that's going to have the hanging indent. And I hope this is visible, but what you have on your ruler on top are these little marks. Okay, the top mark is for the top line, the bottom little triangle is for the bottom line, and the square or the little rectangle below it is for both together. So if I click on the rectangle and drag, notice the whole thing moves. But if I click on just the triangle and move, it's only the second line that's moving. All right, so you use this to set up your hanging indent. Now let me take a sentence that is not working this way. All right. Let's assume these 3 sentences are actually references and I want to do the hanging indent for them, right? What I would do is I'd select one, then move the second line in. Okay, why am I doing this? Because for the next reference, if I place it at the end of this line and just press enter here, it'll automatically get the hanging indent. My third reference, again, the same thing. If I just press enter, it gets the hanging indent automatically. So you set it for the first one, and then everything after that can be indented easily. Okay, so that's why you want to use the hanging indent version of it. All right, the other thing is with APA, you need to have all your references alphabetized. Okay, so arranging alphabetically is actually really easy using MS Word. So select your references, and then you just need to sort them. I'm going to look for my sort option here. There it is. Okay, so right on the home menu, you will see an A and a Z with the downward arrow. So if you click on it, it'll ask you if it's paragraphs, just say okay, and it'll sort it automatically for you. This is tremendously helpful when you're working with a lot of references. You don't have to figure out the alphabetical thing and all, just put them in, and then afterwards Word will then do the alphabetization for you. So that's something else that I wanted to mention as well. Okay, and I'm sure you all know this, but your friend in MS Word or anything is, of course, your Control Z or your Command Z. It just undoes your last few actions. So that's always something to, it's a shortcut, a keyboard shortcut. Okay, so those were the big things that I wanted to mention. Now for the student version of your APA paper, The page numbers are the same on the first page and following pages. So you're going to justify the page number on the first page and then all following pages as well. There is no changing of headers between the first page and other pages. So that makes it easy. All right, I think that's about it for APA that I wanted to share. So I'm going to stop sharing right now. And okay, so before we finish, last call, Dean, do you have any other questions? Otherwise, I will stop recording.
The hanging reference, and I didn't realize they needed to be hanging references.
Yes.
On that student paper, I didn't notice that. Also, in the APA edition 7, it talks about the first citing instead of alphabetical. We're doing them alphabetical and not the first citation cited in that order.
APA is always alphabetical and not citation order. Let me check that
Okay,
again.
I wonder where I saw that. Okay.
It's AMA, I think MLA, they do it citation order.
Ah, that's probably it. And therein lies my confusion. Thank you.
And yeah, and they would use numbers and not in-text citations.
Yes.
So then,
Okay.
yes, it will be citation order. Okay. Now you've got me questioning myself. So I'm going back to the student sample paper just to have a look and make sure I'm right.
No, and the hanging on the reference page, I went to try to find it and I couldn't. I was going to try to pull it up quick and I couldn't find it actually.
Okay, I'll show you where it is right now because it'll help others as well. So
excellent.
Screen. Okay, and let me make the whole thing bigger.
Oh, okay.
So where I am is on the, okay, this is the 7.0 course. Sorry, let me come to Principles and Foundations here. Okay, so in Principles and Foundations of Adult Education Canvas site, the second module is APA Resources, in which you have the student sample paper. So if you click on the student sample paper, it should open up for you. And let's zoom in a bit. And this is the page number I was mentioning. So on the first page itself, you have the page number. And if you scroll right down to, because references are right at the end, right?
Yeah, I just completely missed it.
So going down to page 18, you'll notice that you have your references put over there. And yes, they're all alphabetical.
Yeah, okay.
And you see the hanging indent as well. Yeah. So
I do.
One thing you could think about doing is actually printing this out, the sample paper out, and having it near you.
Believe it or not, I did, but I missed the reference page. I'm like, I won't need that. But yeah, that's the attention to detail you mentioned on the first class.
APA is all about that. It's where the comma is, it's where the period is, and things like that. I've had the paper that I was working on right now come back to me 3 or 4 times from the publisher. This was even before it went for review. They had me change it 3 or 4 times before it was APA compliant. So yeah.
My.
Sorry?
Well, it won't happen again.
Yeah. There's always something we miss because there are so many nuances to it. So don't feel bad about missing things. Just make sure once you figure it out that you don't repeat them again. That's all.
Thank you. That was actually very helpful. I'm glad I sat in on this one.
Hi, Deanna. Okay, I'm not sure if she can hear me. I'm going to stop recording though. Dean, if you have no other